morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Woke up this morning, went outside, and holy cow, a brisk zero, maybe a couple digits below zero, wind chill that is, here on sunny Cape Cod. It's sunny, but it ain't. It definitely isn't a beach day here. So all the locals, everyone watching and listening here, bundle up and listen. Take it slow today. It's not a great day to go out there and get a quick 4 or 5 miles, that's for sure. So an amazing night last night for the ECSI VIP crew, a 3-0 sweep as we bring home Georgia money line. We bring home the Bruins, who started the game 2-0 down, and they decided to rattle 6 straight and hang on for a 7-3 victory. And talked about this on the show. If you liked Georgia last night, we talked about the Bama team total under 24.5, which comes running in. And me and my buddy Dave Sharapan having some nice friendly jabs here and smiling from ear to ear, as in August on the Breakfast Bankroll, we spoke about Georgia future at plus 800, and then at South Point with Chris Andrews, Jimmy Vaccaro, the boys from VEASAN. We were there live and talking about Georgia plus 600 days before the Clemson game. But it's good to see, and I wanted to bring our co-host in from Tampa. And yes, I know it's 75 or 80, and the lawn guy's coming. You're taking a look at the swimming pool later, deciding whether do we go with the fert or the lime today on the plush lawn, and all that good stuff that beautiful weather brings. So without further ado, my man, the man with the plan, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what has happened?
Morning, Jeff. And you mentioned the lawn guy. I don't know if you can hear him out back here, but it's he's out there. So I mean, if you hear him, he's out there. But it's not that hot today. It's 64 degrees today. I don't think we're going to get up to 70 today.
Well, I'll send you my scarf and hat. Quick funny here. Miracle on Ice. Jimmy Carter, Pac-Man released. What do they all have in common?
What, 1970, 1980?
1980. That's correct. The last time Georgia won a national championship. So I was talking to our friend Billy from Louisiana. Tough night for him. Obviously, a diehard Bama fan. And we'll talk later. They're already the preseason favorite at plus 2.5 to 1 to win it again next year. But the diehard Georgia fan that puts $100 on them to win the national title every year goes 0 for 39, finally pops one, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt at plus 8 to 1. So they're only down $3,200 at this point.
Well, I mean, they can keep trying, right? I mean, maybe at the end it'll catch up for them, but that's how the sports books make their living.
So overall, a great game in this regard. I mean, and I'm with a lot of people on social media. I don't really enjoy the 52-48 final. I love the hard fought. It doesn't have to be 0-0 or 3-0, but the way these two teams attacked each other, which a month ago, this Alabama team put up a 40 spot on Georgia. So adjustments were made. And yes, Alabama fans, there were some key injuries. Yes. Okay. But I do know this. Okay. Last year, your best wide receiver, yes, I said that, your best wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, was playing on one leg as a decoy, and Devontae Smith, who won the Heisman, went off, and some of your other players went off for your national championship. Okay. Ohio State was down to their third, fourth from and put up 300 plus yards. So as in Alabama football, as in Duke basketball, if you're not an All-American, you need not apply. Okay. And it's next man up. Yes, they were huge, huge key opponents. But my point is here, it's a national championship game. Injuries do happen. And I know, there were a handful of people out there using that, but just a great second half performance by Georgia. The quarterback, as much as everyone's yelling, bring Daniels in, he got comfortable. He made some big plays. The defense obviously made some big plays. And hats off to Georgia. Congrats. Hats off to Bama, too, by the way. In the championship, going for back-to-back natties. You'll be back next year. I know you will. So, Scott, thoughts on last night?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because the beginning of the game, I really didn't expect Bennett to be as I guess the way to say it is antsy, right? I mean, he was all like running around with a chicken with his head cut off, and I thought, holy crap, they're going to do it again. But as the game goes on and you get those jitters out of your system, I guess, you start to play better, and it's it never hurts to have a defense like what they have and be able to rely on it some. So I thought that the first half was sort of a jab fest. They just jabbed here, jabbed there, jabbed here, jabbed there, and then in the second half, I think that the game really took off. So I thought it was a much better second half than the first half. Not that the first half was poorly played, but I just thought that the quarterback for Georgia was a little rough at the beginning, and then sort of got his sea legs and so got some things going. And we talked about this on the show. I think as this game kind of happened. The defenses aren't equal. The defenses are close, but they're not equal. Georgia's defense is better. And boy, were they fast. I mean, just watching them fly to the football. And what channel were you watching last night? Were you watching the national game or did you watch on ESPN2?
I was floating back and forth. I was I have the mix, so I was able to bounce. They had 3-4 different whatever, and I just whatever the flavor of the minute was. I was getting bored to listen to these two voices, so I bounced over. Just bouncing around.
I watched the whole game on ESPN2. I watched the Texas A&M football coaches break down every play. And some of the stuff that they were saying and some of the stuff that was going on in the game, you're not going to get on the national telecast. So I was, and I don't, I don't like the national telecast per se anyway, just because that's anytime you get the media involved in anything, it's just hype shit of all kinds of stuff. So I don't like to listen to that. And one of the things that they kept talking about, especially at the beginning part of the game, Georgia kept the same formations over and over and over. They kept the little bunch on the right side, they'd bunch them on the left side, and then they would try to run opposite way of the bunch. And the Texas A&M coaches kept saying, "No, that's not how you do this. I mean, you don't do that." And then when Alabama had the ball, they loved what they were doing because, and especially at the beginning of the game, they had wide receivers in motion, and they had a running back that would start in the backfield, and then he would go out and be the wide receiver, and then he would be the wide receiver, then come back and line up as a running back. And you can see the adjustments that Georgia was trying to make to all of the movement. And I just kept thinking to myself, this is why Alabama's in all these games, is because they are smart about what they do, and some teams just don't get it. But when you're just better than somebody else, it eventually kind of wears itself through. And it's interesting to hear those guys talk about some of the misreads from the quarterbacks and where they should have thrown the ball and what they missed in some of those kinds of things. And, it was a different experience for me to watch it on that level and then the breakdowns. And of course they weren't those coaches weren't like pulling for one side or the other, and they knew those kids because they're SEC players. They were calling them all by first name and all that stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, and they highlighted one play. And I'll get off of this in a second, but they highlighted one play, and I just, it was just so vivid that it happened. Alabama had the ball, and they threw a little flat pass out to the left-hand side to the running back. But it was kind of a fake kind of thing. It was one of those kind of things where they're trying to delay it and get a flat pass out there, so it's going to be almost like a screen pass, sort of. Well, the guy that made the play for Alabama for Georgia, he was the left. So this is a ball thrown on the left side. So the running back's on the left side of the field. And then the defender who made the tackle was a linebacker for Georgia who was on the left side. So he's on the opposite side of where the guy made the play. And he made the play 3 yards in the backfield. And I sat there and I go, there ain't nobody gonna. How in the hell does this shit happen where you got a guy that is 40 yards away from where this guy is, and he makes the tackle 3 yards behind the backfield? It was just unbelievable to watch that stuff. And they didn't say anything. I'm sure they didn't say nothing about that on the regular telecast. But oh my God, it was unbelievable to watch some of the stuff that they were showing. And what was really cool was. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The head coach for Texas A&M. Jimbo. They gave him a clicker. So he's in there. He's running plays back and forth and showing different stuff. And holy shit, I was like, this is pretty fun. So anyway, I liked to watch it from that point of view.
It's funny in this regards because Alabama, in a football game, for the most part, you want to go north and south. We always talk about when you try to go to east and west, you're going to get into trouble. You want the running back to see the hole, make one jab step and hit the hole. It's when you bounce left or bounce right, tend to lose yards. Speed kill. I'm going to date myself here. Chicago Bears. Probably the greatest NFL defense that I had ever seen. It didn't matter what you did. You go north, south, east, west, you try trickery. You couldn't put the ball on this team. And listen, I'm not calling this Georgia defense the 85 Bears, but Alabama especially is one of these teams that can get these elite athletes into space and turn a little 6-yard out into a 20-yard gain, and the speed of the Georgia defense didn't allow them to do that.
Well, I thought there was one key play in this game, and it happened in the first half, more or less closer to the end of the first half. But Alabama had the ball, and they threw a pass, and the wide receiver caught the ball. And the defensive back kind of jumped the route and missed the pass. And that turned into the guy running down the sidelines. But then the defender recovered and tackled him at I don't remember if it was like at the 8-yard line or something. So they didn't score a touchdown. And they held him to that field goal. And I thought that was a critical play in the game because that made it 9-3. And if they scored a touchdown there, that made it 13-3. And then you can sort of feel the wheels come off. So when they held them to that 9-3, I thought that was a significant play. And then ideally they went down and kicked the field goal, made it 9-6 at halftime, and then they got the ball back in the second half. So I thought that was a significant play in the game. In a sense that the confidence level and the we can hang in there kind of factor stayed alive, and then the second half kind of played out the way it did, and the fourth quarter obviously was all Georgia.
Here's a shocker I haven't seen on social media. Who won the World Series?
Who won the World Series? The Atlanta Braves.
I have not seen anyone out there touting their chest What a year for Atlanta. The Braves, and as soon as the Braves won the title, I'll go back and pull our show up the next day. I said, look out for them Bulldogs. It's going to be a party in Atlanta. So you get the World Series champs, and now you got the National Football champs. Maybe it's the Atlanta Hawks chance. Trey, the Trey, Ice Trey. I know that's not happening, but hey, a great handful of months there for Atlanta sports fans, a city that has had some tough times, but hats off. You get yourself an MLB championship, you get yourself a football championship. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's probably because the Falcons don't do very well either, right? I mean, that's just a franchise that they go play in that one Super Bowl against New England there, and then they get way ahead and they lose the game, and they've never recovered. They've never been the same team, so it's just interesting to see how these cities. And you know what? The NFL is one of those leagues too that it's hard to keep those players, and it's hard to keep a system and a program going. Not that college football isn't, but college football you can recruit, and in the NFL you got to pay people, and once you start paying people, and you start diversifying where they go and all this stuff, your team's not the same. So we'll see what happens here as this season, this Super Bowl comes. And, one of the things I was looking at, and I don't know where we're going to go next, but one of the things I was looking at is the odds to win the Super Bowl. And I was trying to figure out, where can you make futures bets and what can you do to have some fun with this a little bit. And to be honest, it's one of those things where you sit here and you go, you have to try to figure it out. And, you and I have been talking about this for a little while, and we've said, the AFC is wide open. But is it, especially in the first round? I think in the first round it's not wide open at all. I can't see Pittsburgh beating the Chiefs. I don't see the Raiders beating the Bengals, and I don't see the Patriots beating the Bills. So if you then follow suit with how that kind of plays out, and you look at sort of where the bracket kind of goes and what happens from there, if the Bengals win, they're going to play the Titans. Can the Bengals beat the Titans? Probably so. And if it's a 2 and a 3 matchup, you got the Chiefs and the Bills. Can the Bills beat the Chiefs? Probably so. So that's kind of where you get to that mix of things where you got to look at it. And then I sit here and I think to myself, the Bills are plus 750 to get, to win the Super Bowl. So they just got to get there first. And I'm not thinking that that's probably, a bad outlier considering that the Chiefs are plus 425. And I get it that they'd be at home against the Bills, but you want to play some of these longer numbers just to give yourself, some fun here. But I'm thinking the Bills might not be a bad opportunity there. And then on the other side, on the NFC side, I don't think anybody's given the Eagles a chance against the Bucs. So I think you look at it from that perspective, and then they become the number 2 seed. And I think that a lot of people are thinking the 49ers are going to beat the Cowboys. And then I'm not sure what to do coin flip wise for this Arizona and Rams game. But if all that takes place, then you end up having the 49ers going to Green Bay, and they're not going to match up well in Green Bay in the cold, I don't think. And then secondly, then you're going to have, say, the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers will end up playing the winner of the Cardinals or the Rams at home. And I don't think the Cardinals or the Rams are going to beat the Bucs at home. So then you're going to end up, I think, with here you're going to see the Bucs and the Packers, and the Bucs are plus 750. So if you take 750 and 750 and you win one of them, you're in good shape. So I'm kind of looking at it from that angle. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of funny because you came right out and you talked about wide open. And if you look strictly at the odds in the NFC, I have said all along, unfortunately, it looks like the Packers by default, uh, week off, get healthier, incomes, whoever. And I do think the 49ers match up real well against the Packers. We'll be getting into that, but they still got to get by Dallas anyways. A Bucks team that, again, slept walk through the first half again. Brady hangs in there, make sure Gronk gets his $1 million worth of incentives. A team that's not rolling into the playoffs like they did last year, that's for sure. This Philly team's on a roll, but listen, wild card weekend, that's why it's called wild card. Stranger things have happened where the dogs are usually barking loud, but do I expect Philly to go in there? No, I don't. But let me jump over to the AFC because you brought up some key points. No one has the Titans coming out. Okay? No one. So you got a Tennessee team who's got a week off, getting healthier, and a good chance to have O. Henry back on the field. Now, is he going to be the O. Henry that we remember? No, probably not. But the point is, you might be able to ease him in there, get the sea legs back, and if the Titans do find a way to win, they'll be hosting the championship game. But the point is, people expect the Titans to get picked up. So is it going to be Kansas City hosting, or is it going to be the Bills hosting? I see the same thing you do. The value in the AFC, the value is the Bills. They were in that championship game last year in Kansas City. They have taken the next step. So you are correct when the value is the Bills, but that's overlooking the Titans. Bye week hosting. They already beat the Chiefs in Tennessee earlier this year by a bazillion. Now it's going to be different, of course. But my point is, Kansas City comes into the Titans. They would be maybe because of Mahomes, KC -1.5. If the Bills come in, maybe you pick them. Maybe the Bills -1. Maybe the Titans -1. Go over to the NFC now. No one's coming in the Lambeau favored. No one. I mean, you were 3.5 last year or 2.5, and you came in and picked them up. So my point is, I think on paper, both sides are kind of sort of wide open in this regards. Bucks, Dallas, 49ers. You want to throw the Rams in? Any given Sunday, I think any one of those four teams can go into Lambeau and pick them off. It's not like the Green Bay is going to be 10-point favorites or anything. So, like I said, the default word there. Listen, Rodgers has got me twice the last 2 years. I don't want to be a part of the third time. I just despise that. But I think it's their year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that when you start to look at these games and you kind of try to figure out where they're going to go, and you brought up the Titans. So the Titans get a bye this week, and then they're going to play the winner of the Raiders and the Bengals game at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then they play a game that would take them to the Super Bowl. So can they beat the Bengals? Can they beat the Raiders? Absolutely. Can the Bengals beat the Titans? I think they can. Now, I say all of that, and it's going to come down to kind of what kind of coaching do they get out of these teams, and that's where I think that the Titans have the advantage, because not that I think they have the greatest coach in Mike Vrabel, but he's been there. And he's been there with New England for all that time, and now he's been there for the Titans for a couple of years, and that matters. And they're going to be facing the Raiders, who don't have a head coach, and they're going to be facing a first-time playoff team in the Bengals in a while, and that head coach hadn't been there either. So that kind of plays out that the Titans, they're going to be in the championship game the way I see it. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be, but then that means they do have to beat the Bills, and they do have to beat the Chiefs. And I know what the odds tell you, and the odds tell you that the Chiefs and the Bills are shorter on the number. But I would also tell you that they're better football teams.
Mhm.
So I get it that they're playing on the road, and I get it that all of that stuff, and it's the home team and all those things. But I would not bet against the Chiefs or the Bills against the Titans. I would bet on both of those two teams before I bet on the Titans. And hence, I think that's where the number is. I mean, the number, I think, what is it, 850 for the Titans or something like that? And I think it's, 750 for the Bills and like 425 or something for the Chiefs. So I can see all of that. But I just think your best value right there on those bets is the Bills.
So I'm just going to run down some quick numbers here. Then we're going to jump on to today's slate. Cincinnati opened at 6, is now down to 5.5, which to me, again, is, I think Cincinnati a pretty high price number there. Another team that hasn't won a playoff game in forever. Just ask Marvin Lewis. And then I don't see Boomer Esiason quarterback. Listen, I'm a huge Burrows and Chase guy. I love their team. I love their offense. I love everything about them. The numbers smells to holy hell to me, like they're begging us to take the Raiders' money. The Raiders were left for dead and buried, and they just won 4 straight games. They won in Indy. They just knocked off the Chargers. They are getting absolutely zero. I repeat, zero respect. And if their front line puts pressure on Joe, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. But I am kind of surprised that number's that high. Bills, Patriots, round 3. Computer number 4.5, opened at 5, down to 4. It's one of those 24-20 games. That's what they're telling you right now. Philly and Tampa, computer 7.5, opened at 9, down to 8.5, with a 49.5. San Fran, Dallas, flat 3s all across the board there, with a 51. So that's a 27-24 currently right now. And this one is kind of comical. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, computer model 13, seeing 12.5 across the Vegas Strip and online. Here's the comedy there. Handful of years ago, I was in Vegas. I was at the South Point, and I think Patty Mahomes and company were like 11-point favorites against Houston. And Houston got out to that 24-0 lead with Deshaun Watson. And let's just say the world was ending. And I'm trying to explain to people, don't jump. You're okay. It's still, oh my God, 24-0. I can't believe. And then I think it was 24-7. And then it was 24-10. And then I walked over to I was over at the race book at that time. I walked over to the sports book, and Kansas City was down 14 outright. And yet they were just plus 150 on the money line in the in-game line. So I was like, hey, guys, you might want a little plus money. I know we're down 14. We got a late second quarter here. We're getting the ball to start the third quarter. Well, I think the game was tied at halftime. And then I think the Chiefs went on to win by 14 or something. So I kind of see that game the same way. Maybe Big Ben gets out early and then the Chiefs just dominate. But listen, I can see, it is what it is. It's football. It's wild card. But I think that number's spot on. And I don't think they got it high enough, to attract Steeler money there.
Well, I've already broke some of this stuff down. I go a little deeper now that I have a little bit of time here getting into these games. And, the one game that I'm struggling with is to kind of get, that Cincinnati Las Vegas Raider game. The Raiders are 31st against the pass, and that's not very good. And Joe Burrow has been the number 1 quarterback in the NFL since week, say, 10 or 11. So in the second half of the season, he's been dynamite. So I kind of like Cincinnati there. I don't necessarily like the number per se in terms of the 6 or the 7 or whatever it's going to end up being. But I tend to think that these numbers are out here for the teams to be bet up on the favorites, not so much on the underdogs. Why would they want to put a 6 out there unless they wanted them to bet on Cincinnati in this game to drive it to 7? And then the Buccaneers game is over 8, but not into the 10 range. So there's some interesting things, and the one thing that was the most interesting thing to me of all is the San Francisco Dallas game, is because that's I think that's the shortest spread on the board. I think it's 3, right? I mean, that's the shortest one of all of them, and at 3. So Football Outsiders does this thing called DVOA, and you've heard me say that, and I think everybody knows what DVOA is at this point. But it's a sabermetric number that they kind of rank things on based on plays and all that kind of stuff. But it's their version. I don't use it as much as I use EPA because I've learned that EPA is a lot better. But that being said, the Dallas Cowboys are the number 1 DVOA team in all of the NFL. And they're going to be playing against the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers, that game's 3 points. But when I looked at what EPA says that the San Francisco 49ers are number 1 against the run. They're number 18 against the pass. 16 against the pass. And Dallas can't run the football anyway. So they're just going to kind of, mess around with that. It's about the pass. They can throw the ball. They're 9th throwing the football. And they're going to go against the 16th rated pass defense. So I think they can certainly move the ball. And on the other side, San Francisco's offense is 8th against the run and 8th rushing the football and 3rd passing the football. So they got some stuff going for them. And Dallas can't really do well against the run, but they're great against the pass. So, and in the NFL today, it's all about the throwing. And when you're in Dallas and then it's going to be in a closed door environment, I think that you're going to see, this is the highest total too. So I think you're going to see some points out there in that game. So it wouldn't surprise me there. And then that Buffalo-New England game, the first thing I thought of is what's the weather going to be like? And it looks like it's going to be snowy and cold. I think there's a 60% chance of snow in the forecast for that game. And if I remember right, isn't that the way it was the first time they played? And we were all talking about how Josh Allen's born in Wyoming and he's used to all that shit, and then they didn't do nothing.
Well, the key to that game was, the 40, 50 mile an hour wind gusts. So the Patriots literally ran the ball, 50 times. What did Mac threw the ball once or twice that whole game. So that will be interesting for sure. Like I said, it's how you look at the numbers. My first instinct on that Cincinnati and the Raider game was, again, I see a number and I was like, holy shit, I think they're begging for Raider money because I think that number's too high. The Dallas San Fran game, okay, in August, September, everyone knows here that I was on the 49ers to win the NFC. Well, unfortunately, I like their matchup against Dallas, but I think come kickoff, they'll be in this weekend's public trendy dog. That will be the one team I think everyone will be on to, I guess we should say, survive in advance. The other games, again, if you sent me $100 to bet on Philly, I couldn't really at this point do it because I think Tampa's going to win. That's one of the things here in playoff football or in any kind of playoffs, one game scenarios. The hardest part to wrap around is the fact that unless you're playing money lines, it's the spread. So it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's did you cover and cash the ticket? I fully expect the Bucs to win. So therefore, it's hard for a lot of people to say, well, I think the Bucs win, but Philly covers. So with a number so high, as long as you're down by 14 or 15 and Philly has the ball, you have a chance for the back door. The back door is open. So it's kind of one of those, probably Tampa wins by, 6, 7, you know what I mean? And the same with the Steeler game. They're down 17 and Big Ben hits Deontay Johnson with 5 seconds left for the backdoor cover, but that's football, that's gambling. That's what happens in sports. So I think all these numbers are interesting. We'll have plenty of time all week to keep digging into them. I wanted to give you a couple seconds. I'll switch gears here for you. You see anything tonight on tonight's card in the NBA? I don't know if you were able to, uh, thaw your numbers. LOL, because I did hear the lawn man over there about 15 minutes ago. So you weren't worrying about ice and snow and all that good stuff. So uh, I think you're doing well over there. But anything in the NBA jump out to you? Or anything you see tonight?
Well, I played one game last night, and I played the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers with 2 minutes 34 seconds left, Jeff, 109.99. They were ahead 10 points with 2 minutes 34 seconds to go in the game. The final score of the game 109-108. They didn't score another point. So there you go. I mean, they won the game, but I didn't cover that spread. That pissed me off. So sorry, I shouldn't say it that way, but I was mad. Anyway, so the Georgia game, and the way we broke that game down, and I'll be honest with you, I think that we stood our ground against the Bama people in that game, and I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, because I've done that before and I've got my legs chopped off. But it's one of those scenarios where you've got to play what you think you need to play. And I think I remember even hearing on this channel from Dave Sherapan that he said there's nothing different about this game from the first game. There's nothing different. You got to bet Alabama. And whether he changed his mind or he played something else or did whatever. But you take your opinion and you stick it where you want to play it, and you put the money where you got to go, and then that's what you play it. And if it works out, it works out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But in the NBA tonight, Jeff, I'm having a struggle. I can't find a valuable game. The game that I think is probably the best game, I think Minnesota plays at that New Orleans, and my numbers say New Orleans is going to win by 6. I think the number's 3.5 now or something like that. And New Orleans has been on a bad spell. And Minnesota's been playing some pretty good basketball, but I decided today that I wasn't going to take that road favorite there, and I was trying to find a dog, and the only dog that I think has true value tonight, and this is really going to sound stupid, is the Toronto Raptors against Phoenix. But I'm going to leave that alone and just say I'm going to watch them tonight because I just don't like these matchups.
It's funny. I think it was last Friday. Toronto hosted Utah, and Toronto was favored by 11.5. And I had a half dozen to a dozen guys reaching out. Jeff, what the hell's going on here? I'm looking at every injury report. I'm looking at everything. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? There is no way in holy hell Toronto should be favored by 11.5. I'm checking the COVID list. I'm checking everything. Utah puts up a 40 spot in the first quarter, and they're up 40-25. They're up 15. And I'm like, and it's the NBA. I know what happens here. Well, Toronto outscores them in the second quarter. They outscore them in the third quarter. And guess what? They outscored them in the fourth quarter, and they won by 15. So the NBA knows how to set these numbers. And it's funny you pulled up Toronto because Phoenix is 4.5 point favorites. So initially, to me, again, Toronto, like now, you go from a 11.5 point favorite against Utah. I'm not comparing Utah to Phoenix, but there's some similarities there. Both teams playing well, and yet they have Phoenix favored by 4. And then Golden State is only a 1.5 point favorite at Memphis. Memphis has been playing some great ball. Klay Thompson, welcome back from a 2-year injury battle, came back on Sunday. The Golden State team, which we talked about as our preseason pick, 10, 11, 12 to 1. They're the second favorite. I still think Brooklyn's the favorite right now, and Golden State's the second favorite, but they're going to be such a damn tough out. I think the Suns are the only ones that match up good to them against them in the 7-game series there. Good stuff. It's kind of funny. You get Labor Day weekend comes and it's just like, wow, here comes college football. And you blink and now it's turned the page. I'll verbally say this. This came out last night, and kind of comical. So at Caesars Sports, your 2022 playoff title odds: Alabama plus 250, Georgia plus 450, Ohio State plus 700, Clemson 12-1, Oklahoma, Michigan 15-1, USC 20-1, Notre Dame, Texas 25-1. So those are the early opening lines. And listen, there's plenty of lines wide open. Come there. And why do they want you to come there to start dropping some money? Because they'll hold your money for one full year. 1 year. And in today's society, that's the funny thing is that these odds change every day, every week. So if you don't want someone to hold your money for a full year, you can sit back and wait. Closing thoughts, Mr. Scott.
On to the NFL for me, and I do NBA stuff, so I'll be looking at some of that. And as I go along here, I thought I would try to look into some stuff golf related and maybe get into that. I know you do some golf, so I thought maybe I would do some of that. I got to figure out how to write some programs for that, and then going to get back into some heavy duty baseball stuff here pretty soon. So, and then I got to figure out, kind of just being on the safe side, figure out what I'm doing with KBO, whether I'm going to play KBO or if I'm just going to, I don't like to do both. I don't like to play KBO and the Major League Baseball at the same time. It's just too many numbers, too many things. But I will say this. In absence of Major League Baseball, I can get all in on the KBO. So I can get some pretty good numbers out of that league, and it's kind of fun actually. And what I'm hoping for is that I'm more than ready for that season when it comes, and that takes a little bit of study because all those guys have different names than I'm used to.
It's been a hell of a run, a hell of a season. Congrats again to Georgia. Congrats to Bama. Congrats to the SEC as usual. The king of conferences reigns supreme again. Tomorrow, our friend from across the border, Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talking McGinnis Picks. We'll be talking a lot of NHL. On Thursday, Colton from the Windy City Talking the Line will join us. On Friday, Mr. Bernie making his debut, Fredo from Fox Sports Radio. We're going to talk shop, talk about his two books, and he's going to give us some insight on the weekend in the NFL games. Saturday, Sunday, of course, Scott is back. And our plan Wednesday, Thursday, Friday might be to debut the closing bell. What we want to do very simply is provide you as much information as possible as what has happened overnight through the breakfast bankroll, and as the closing bell sounds, get closer to tip-off, face-off, opening kick, give you the sharpest numbers, the most information possible before you wager, invest, and hopefully cash that ticket. So enjoy the day. Locals, bundle up. It is cold out here. Take care of those pets too, and be careful when you bring those guys out there. It's a little too cold for that right now. Always remember this when you are wagering: wager with your head, not your heart. Wager and invest responsibly. If you have a problem, there is a phone. Pick it up. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. Use that 800 number. We want you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and beyond. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. We wish you a blessed day. Invest responsibly, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow.